speaking with us now from Perth is Mike Young from Vimy Resources. Mike, thanks for your time today.
Thank you very much.
So first interview, first question, tell us about Vimy Resources.
So Vimy is a uranium development company. Its main assets are in Australia, the Mulga Rock Uranium Project, which we've just finished the definitive feasibility study on. And we just acquired the Alligator River Province project from Cameco Australia, which is a subsidiary of Cameco in Canada. And we're pretty excited about that in terms of the exploration potential up there.
So yes, your Mulga Rock Uranium Project is quite advanced now. You mentioned there in January, you released the definitive feasibility study and the environmental study is up now. You are progressing towards a final investment decision. I'm wondering, what's the latest, and are there discussions taking place on strategic financing, partnerships or offtake agreements?
Now that the DFS is done and is basically technically de-risked the project, now we need to get financing, and to get financing we will need contracts with utilities. The contracts are predominantly one-to-one confidential contracts, and so we've hired a guy in the States named Scott Hyman, who's our marketing vice president of marketing. And his job is to talk to utilities, predominantly in America, because that's a quarter of the market, and to secure contracts. And then once we get secured contracts for offtake, that'll then lead to finance. And on the finance side, we have a bank from France called Société Générale, and they're our mandated bank assisting us with financing. So it'll go contract, finance, final investment decision, and we would expect that to occur over the next 12 to 18 months.
Plenty to keep our eyes on there. But you've recently gone to the market and secured yourself $6 million in a share placement priced at 11 cents per share. Please tell us, what are your plans with this cash?
So that was a retail placement that was done by Morgans. They did a great job in what is, uranium's still a tough market at the moment, so kudos to them. Basically, that cash was aimed at, or is aimed at, exploration in the Alligator River Province. So as I said in the introduction, we bought a large package of tenements from Cameco, who have, because of the current uranium market, been contracting their operations back to Canada. And so this was an asset they divested. Part of the asset is a 25% joint venture with Rio Tinto. Now this is in a uranium province, which is one of the top 3 in the world. So you've got 3 dominant provinces, what we call geological provinces in the world. That's the Athabasca in Canada, you've got Kazakhstan, and then you've got the Alligator River Province in the Northern Territory. Now those other 2 geological provinces have been explored and they're currently mining. The Alligator River Province, which hosts the Ranger and Jabiluka deposits, went through a long phase of no exploration because of politics. We had the 3 mines uranium policy in Australia for a long, long time. And then basically what happened is nobody did any exploration. So you've got this ground, we call it fertile, that's the term we use, and you've got this big area of unexplored ground which is really prospective for uranium. So we've got a couple of advanced projects. So in the intervening years that Cameco had it, they had identified a bunch of targets, and one of the targets called Angularli, that's actually, we've published a resource on that. It's got about 26 million pounds, and we'd expect to at least double that. So our plan this year for the field season is to go up and drill the Angularli deposit and another really exciting project that we call Such Wow.
That's a very interesting name, Such Wow. Tell us about this prospect.
I'm pretty sure a hippie named that one. He was like, I was so impressed with it. It was like, wow, man. It was like just such wow. And so that's my story. I'm not really sure how it got named, but.
Yeah, so you're going to go drill there?
So that's one of our targets. So we've got the 2 targets this year. It is a target-rich environment, and you are restricted by the field seasons in the Northern Territory, like you are in Canada, but for completely different reasons. And so that's the 2 areas that we'll drill this year. So off the back of that drilling, we'll then develop further drilling programs for next year. But the thing about what we're currently doing is, so the activities we're doing on Mulga Rock are, to the average investor, pretty boring. You're talking to utilities, you're trying to get contracts, you're talking to banks. It's all a bit, like this. It's exciting to me, and it's important to the company, but to the investor, it's not the real news flow they're looking for. The news flow they want are drill results and blue sky and upside, and that's what the Alligator River Province will give to us. So we're expecting, plus 1% intersections up there. We know that we've seen tenders at 4% uranium. So these are high grade, small and rich deposits, very much like the ones in Saskatchewan. So we're pretty excited about this, and we expect most of the news flow this year to really be about those exploration drilling up in the Northern Territory.
Plenty to get excited about there. You have touched on...
Yes, I did get excited there, didn't I?
You did touch on the fact that it has been a tough market. Uranium prices have been in quite a slump for quite some time, but we are seeing that they are starting to tick up slightly. What are your views on where they're going?
It's a really good question, and it's a really interesting one. The uranium market, as I said previously, is like no other commodity market, so it's really hard to see through into how the prices are going. So the dominant price that we see, called the spot price, is actually a very thinly traded, low volume market that's run by arbitrage people who basically buy small consignments of uranium at low price and sell it to utilities at a slightly higher price. And it's not really reflective of the contracts. 90% of the uranium that's sold in contracts, not reflective of that. Nevertheless, that's what drives sentiment. And we are seeing what we call green shoots. We're seeing what I call supply side discipline. So you're seeing Cameco, they've shut one of their mines, and you're seeing a flattening of production in Kazakhstan, and you're seeing Areva, or now called Orano, is also reducing production. So we're seeing supply side discipline, and what we should see in the not too distant future is a reaction to that on the buy side. And so they need to start paying a little bit more for the uranium to sustain the production that's needed. We are seeing, as I say, we are seeing green shoots. We're seeing a little uptick in the spot price. But what's the really interesting bellwether for this market is really what Cameco does, because they shut down one of their biggest mining operations, one of the cheapest in the world, because they couldn't get the contracts they need to keep that open. And what that means is the rest of the world's production at some point either will be paid what they need to be paid to keep those operations going, or they'll close. And so we've been saying there's a bit of a game of chicken going on, and really there can only be one winner, and that's the producers.
Sounds like good news for your shareholders there in the long term. And could you leave us off, please, with what are the next key announcements that we should be staying tuned to Vimy Resources for?
So the announcements will be about Alligator River. It'll be about the commencement of the drilling program, and it'll be about the results. And the good thing about uranium is that when you drill uranium, you've got Geiger counters that you can assess the grade. Subjectively, you can assess the grade of the holes as they're coming out of the ground. So, we'll be able to give people real-time announcements in terms of the prospectivity of those deposits. So, look, we're pretty excited about the Alligator River.
And we do hope to get you back for all those real-time announcements in the studio. Thanks so much for your time today, Mike.
I'll be back.